Hey, it's Soul. I know I touched on this subject the other day, but today I'm back with some post-BlizzCon feedback specific to character customization and Blizzard's intentions, at least at the moment, to not work on adding more of it for the remainder of the Shadowlands expansion. I'm going to start off with playing the entirety of the clip where this was said along with my reactions in this WoW Q&A. I'm sorry if I talk over it in a few parts, but you'll get the gist of what's going on. So here's the clip.
Sounds great. Huntmaster Avery from the Forest Riders realm wrote in, and Eli, this is back to you. Will there be more new character customization options added in Shadowlands?
That's for you, folks.
We're not going to add more character customizations to Shadowlands. Let
Bad,
me explain
Eli.
that. So the breadth of character customizations that we did add, we felt like was pretty good. And, we tried to add things for most every race. There are a few we didn't get as many customization options in for. And those are the kind of things that we'll be looking forward in the future, to what can we do for the races we maybe didn't do as much for, what would be the right choices there. We try to be really thoughtful about this type of thing. And these types of features tend to be fairly big projects. We want to make sure that we put the time in, that we're very thoughtful about it, and that we release new customizations when it's going to be really good for the game, really good for the players, and it's still going to, happen in parallel with getting new content out too. Like that's always our primary goal, is making sure that you have new content to play, and we'll do these other things to enhance the game along the way, wherever they make sense, and when we have a really good plan for it.
I don't know if you guys got a lot of this feedback or not, but I can tell you that the thing I had the most fun with the pre-patch was going and getting those customizations done to myself, heading into the barber and going, are you kidding me? I can now have a scar that runs from my eye down to my lip, and half my tusk is broken, and whatever. Like, that stuff turned out to be really great. Did you overall get really good feedback about that? Do you feel like, giving those extra options was worth it to the players?
Oh, definitely. And I remember even,
every time is a good time
when we
to
announced
add
that
more
this was
stuff.
happening, and I might have even been in a Q&A actually. The outcry and the sort
I
of
guess the
support for it
problem
was huge.
is
then
that
we've seen, tremendous
because there's
support
always a
and
good time
tremendous
to do
outcry
it,
from the community,
like,
just how happy
it needs to
everybody
stop
is seeing
somewhere,
this. And of
or
course,
it needs
as
to
players
slow
of the
down
game,
somewhere.
we're super excited
So
about it too. And the first thing I did on every one of my characters was go in and start customizing them, as well as get into the character
See, he's
creation,
smiling.
and just look at all the options, hit the random button over and over and over again to just really get a sense for what's in there. So I think it's a really exciting feature, and certainly something we want to invest in a big way going forward when it makes sense.
notice that Scott Johnson, the host of the Q&A, had an immediate response that kindly points out that, even if the new additions weren't as robust for some races as others, people responded pretty darn well to the added features. And Eli Cannon, the art director for the World of Warcraft, kind of broke out of his canned response for a second to share that, oh yeah, he had a lot of fun playing around with it too, before circling back to what he knew that he had to say. Fans all over have been fairly united in their overall disappointment, and it's been hard for some to be very understanding. I'm not really the type to hang people by their own words, but to hear that things like hairstyles and eye color would be worked on when they make sense for the game, you can't really expect right, it needs to make sense. I totally get it. Because for something as kind of low impact as this, the right time to add customizations is pretty much all the time. In nearly every big Q&A that we've had, this is asked for and rarely is it answered. I think there are other reasons why customization has been set aside for the remainder of Shadowlands, and keep in mind this is just me speculating based on, reasonable sense. It's not because Bobby Kotick decreed no new customizations unless they're on the cash shop. Whatever. I mean, it's possible, actually, I guess, but I don't really want to go there. During BlizzCon 2019, Shadowlands was unveiled along with the reveal, or what some might call the promise, of character customizations that would do a lot to redefine our personal expressions in-game. We all know that we should all know that planned content can reiterate into something else entirely by the time it's released. It's why playable Zandalari trolls were held off so they can be released alongside cool Tyranids as playable races. It's why the dance studio still isn't a thing. Anyway, in 2020, 2020 happened. The WoW team worked from home and had to improvise to make launch. A release date was given and then was pushed back. Unquantifiable sacrifices and compromises were made behind closed doors, but with regards to character customizations, it launched. And while some races got more love than others, overall it was well received. But why did the momentum stop? Again, I'm gonna speculate, meaning that I'm probably wrong, but with how Blizzard's been talking about their art team and their work on customization, it sounds like it has been a very collaborative process, which in a certain perspective, you could also say that it's freaking slow. Someone might be like, hey, I have a great idea. Let me pitch it to this person. So they set up a meeting with a few stakeholders over Zoom or something to show them the idea. And then that person's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Let me run it up the chain to my stakeholders and get some more input from them too. This is probably an extreme example, but long story short, approving art or anything is a long process, and when it comes to appearances like this, Blizzard really, I guess, wants to get it right. And in my opinion, that's the wrong way to do it. I've said this earlier, that Blizzard probably wants to save appearance options for like a really big dump, like during an expansion launch, so everyone gets a sizable number of options all at the same time. It's a pretty fair and reasonable explanation too. After all, who would be happy if only Zandalari trolls and Kultirans got a pass at customization in patch 9.1? Players who play those races would be pretty happy, but who would be mad? Everybody else. How would players feel if every race got a pass, but they only got like 2 eyebrow appearances in 9.1? Would it be ooh or ooh? Many dissenting fans, some of which are 3D artists themselves, shared their input that creating and implementing appearance changes like this can be pretty darn fast. Others have suggested even allowing users to submit not just concept art, but actual files that would implement these changes, and maybe even get paid for their work if it was approved. It sounds good at first, but we've also got to deal with some realities. It's a little misleading to demonstrate how easy it is to show an appearance change when it's just that one person who's the artist, the producer, and the single approving vote. There's a world of difference between submitting what is a good idea, even if it is a good idea, for it to be actually approved, and we don't know what the actual workload of the art team is. And it's not hard to imagine the toxicity that would come if fans were allowed to submit their own work. I mean, first there would probably be some fine print that sending stuff means Blizzard immediately owns all the rights to it. That would go well. It would go through the same approval and reiteration process that it goes through right now, meaning that there would be this massive backlog of stuff for the art team to just look at, which also kind of compromises the size of their art team if they can instead leverage the community to do the work for them. You would love hearing about those layoffs in favor of fleecing the community for free, right? There would be all sorts of toxicity over what got approved versus what got rejected. One Reddit thread after another of, this was my awesome submission while this literal trash was approved by the rabble over at Blizzard. And if money was used as a motivator, oh man, you would see the number of submissions shoot up exponentially. Now let me be clear, I do support having more of these appearance customizations, and otherwise I wouldn't be spouting off on this subject at all. Blizzard should consider this thought for the sake of allowing more character customization to be implemented in WoW faster. Lift up that red tape, assuming that it's there. I'm gonna guess that Blizzard is taking the approach of quality over quantity, but I think that mandate blinds them to the obvious. So, here's a sword. Alright, here's a sword. Here's a pretty cool looking sword, and there's nothing that you can change about this sword except for the color. You know, if there are different colors, and in this case there are, I'm sure it went through more than a few iterations before it turned into this. But when it comes to our characters, there are people of all different shapes and sizes and hairstyles and skin tones and eye color combinations that not everything in the space of character appearance, not all of it has to be epic. The point of character customization is for the developers to increase the number of options, but ultimately it's to empower us, the players, to decide how we want our characters to look. Blizzard should change the mandate, work on getting more of these appearances out into the hands of players, and if there needs to be changes outside of bugs, don't make them as actual changes, make them into new options because, one player might like original option A more than new option B, even if it's almost the same thing. I do get it when Blizzard says that it wants to work on these sorts of features when it makes sense, and unless they relent, we can probably count on more options coming in the next expansion, which makes sense, but it's also 2 years from now. I didn't say I like it, I said that I get it, okay? But I'd like your thoughts on this. Quality or quantity? If workload is an issue, what artwork should have been set aside? Maybe mounts or pets? Maybe the class armor sets that are coming later in Shadowlands? Let us know in the comment below. And if this subject is important to you, don't shut up about it. Be civil, of course, but keep this conversation going. See if we can pressure Blizzard into changing their stance. But anyway, thanks for watching and listening. Like the video because it helps, subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft, and we will see you around. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.